Welcome back to The Full View, the Christmas Day edition. Did you know that Christmas really is one of the happiest times of the year? Well, maybe that should be the case, but for most people, the reality is that some people feel a heightened sense of loneliness stemming from the loss of a loved one, depression, as well as other social issues that personally affect a lot of us around this festive time, leaving you feeling under the weather with no one to talk to, and it can especially be detrimental to your well-being, especially if you have no support system, as everyone is out and about celebrating the good times. So how do you overcome this? Well, let's extend a very festive greeting to Father Michael Lapsley, President of the Healing of Memories Global Network. Father, a Merry Christmas to you. Thank you so much for your time this evening, reading your heartfelt story about how you yourself went through a personal ordeal and tragedy where you lost both of your hands and one eye in a letter bomb. How do you even begin encouraging those going through a loss at this time?
Well, thank you, Alicia, and warm Christmas greetings to all South Africans, no matter what the background is. Interestingly, I was just in Vietnam and Thailand, both Buddhist countries, and they were all celebrating Christmas like crazy. So that was very interesting to me. But the point you're making is that at a time of celebration, there are those people who have just suffered loss. I think of the fires in the Western Cape, and I was very struck when they were saying the gift of the givers, Islamic relief, are coming out in support. But the personal thing is also very important. I think even in families, maybe the family is celebrating, but one member of the family is not, because they have some sense of grief and loss. And I think it's important that we don't force happiness upon people. But, you know, in our Institute for Healing of Memories, we like to say that all people have a story and every story needs a listener. And I think in particular, we need people to hear our pain, to listen to it. And I think when it comes to the loss of life, maybe people that we lost during COVID, it's good on a day like Christmas to talk about that, talk about them, and not just speak about sadness, but talk about all the things that made them a beautiful human being and the things that we loved about them. So I think telling the stories can be a part of healing, and much healthier than just bottling up the feelings and pushing them down. And I think the complexity of human life, the beautiful feelings and the horrible ones all mixed up together. I think many of us, you just were showing the terrible visuals from Gaza. So I think the people of South Africa, many of us are identifying with the people of Gaza and their terrible, terrible pain, even at the same time as we're thinking, okay, let's have our Christmas cake, let's celebrate, let's have fun together. So all these emotions are mixed up in us, and we need to give space and permission for all of them. But particularly, we need to be willing to listen to the pain of others and give them the space for their stories to be told.
And Father, as an advocate for peace and healing yourself, talking to those that are currently suffering loneliness and heartbreak and even depression and feeling extremely lonely, what can that person themselves, without even the assistance from, say, support structures who just sees no way out of their current grief and situation, what can they personally do?
I think sometimes we have to be true to who we are. So if we're someone who loves music, play your favorite music. And even though you may be weeping while you are hearing that favorite music, because maybe the loved one also loved that piece of music, but that can also give us consolation. And also go for a walk, be with Mother Nature. Mother Nature has her own healing power in her life. And I think often there's not something glib and cheap and easy, but sometimes there are simple things that we can do. Even whatever our faith tradition is, read our favorite passage from the Quran, our favorite passage from the Bhagavad Gita, our favorite from the Bible, because there are also the stories of consolation, the stories of a God who accompanies us, who travels with us. And that can often see us through the dark times.
And Father, how important is it for everyone to have an outlet, a way of unburdening themselves, unshackling themselves of all those haunting thoughts of inadequacy and the general feeling of being abandoned?
I think it's very important that wherever, and this is why we have to find people who are trustworthy, people who will listen to us, people who will believe us, people who will not judge us and won't give us lots of advice, but accompany us and be with us. Because if we don't, then it's bottling around inside. I always remember someone in the United States saying to me, "I've waited 42 years to tell this story." Now, how wonderful that he was telling the story now, how tragic that for 42 years it had been bottled up inside of him. And I think it's a normal human response when terrible things happen to want to simply bury and forget. It's our favorite option, both as individuals and nations, but it never works. So it is important for everyone. But also, the rest of us have to be people who are willing to be those listeners as well, that make ourselves available, and not just to listen with the ears, but to listen with the heart. And that's also part of making a healthy society. I think, if we think of the scale of grief and loss of jobs during COVID, many of us bottled up that pain. And even now, we still have to have a journey of working through it. Just as, the trauma of what we did as a nation, what happened under apartheid, often older people are still dealing with that pain and trauma. And I think there need to be intergenerational conversations, the older people telling the stories to younger people. But younger people have their pain. So I think it's mutual. They need to hear and listen to each other.
Father, thank you so much for those healing words. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you so much for your contribution. Father Michael Lapsley, the Healing of Memories President, with words of encouragement at this time.